Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Let's have a quick chit chat about remaps, chips and tunes. Okay, so we've talked about it before, but not much, because we try not to talk about things that are negative, you know what I mean? We try to stay positive and talk about good things, so we haven't really got a lot good to say about remaps, chips and tunes, okay? We're going to try and start off with that, okay? Obviously, if you sold your V8 Commodore or your turbocharged, I don't know, 200SX, I don't know, whatever, some fast car, because you know you're getting impounded or the risk of getting impounded, then went and brought a four-wheel drive, and you found out the hard way that diesels are slower than petrols in general, you know what I mean? They're a different type of engine for a different purpose. And you want to make it go faster because you've got a fairly big truck. They're pretty big, heavy trucks. They're not aerodynamic, they're like bricks. And then you go and do the mods and make them heavier and put the big tyres on and find it's quite sluggish. So as soon as that ad pops up on Facebook, whoever tuned this and tuned that, you get a bit excited. Now, just be careful, okay? I know it's fun to go faster, that's cool, and I understand, totally understand why. You know, you've got a 4 or 5 cylinder little diesel in a big truck. Just think about it, you know, before you had a turbocharged 6 cylinder in a Falcon or a V8 or even a V6 in a Commodore, they were smaller, lighter, more aerodynamic, and they had bigger engines with more power. And now you've gone into this big truck with a 4 cylinder and it's heavy, so it's kind of heavy. It's not a truck, but it's pretty well, you know, it's a truck, it's heavy, as I said, not aerodynamic at all whatsoever, so I understand. And then you've put your bigger tyres on, maybe you shouldn't have done that. I see how you feel you've got to do that, because there's people out there with bigger tyres digging out the ruts deeper, so to get the clearance and whatever, you've kind of like joined the bandwagon, move this lane, move that lane, you know. These cars, if they work out their mind what speed they're travelling at, it'll be good. Anyway, so you've done all these things and you want more power. Fair enough, okay? I see where you're headed. In my opinion, they're quite expensive. I'm sure there's people out there that know what they're doing and they can make your vehicle better for you. So let's believe that, right? I'm not going to believe that at the same time as you make more power, you're going to get better fuel economy, okay? That's rubbish. You could remap the vehicle for fuel economy, absolutely. Just like I can drive the vehicle for fuel economy with my right foot, okay? You can drive the vehicle for power with your right foot. You're not going to get economy and power at the same time, so don't be fooled by that. So, on a positive note, sure there's people out there that know what they're doing when they make adjustments to make the vehicle better to suit you. That's cool, right? Personalise it to you. But sometimes it's a bit of an exorbitant cost of doing so. So just be careful there what you're paying and how much time they're really putting in. There's some people that actually spend the time to make sure the basics are right on your vehicle. That is, maybe that it's all clean, the intake's clean. You could have a 200,000k vehicle that half the intake's caked up, and maybe it just needs a clean to get that power back. Maybe you do need to go down a set of size in tyres, and I would suggest these sorts of things need to be done before you go ahead and do the tuning, right? The tuning's maybe the icing on the cake. You've got to get everything else right first, the basics. There is people out there that do this tuning that can't do the basics. We've seen it before, we've seen on other vehicles. They can't even do the basics. So make sure you're not taking your vehicle to someone that can't do the basics and then they're going to do a tune for you, because it's going to come back, it won't necessarily be running that well. And in another video recently, we just talked about what causes it to blow smoke, and I suppose I didn't mention you've got a chip or a tune. You've taken it for a chip or a tune or a remap or whatever you want to call it, right? It's all more or less, well, the chips are separate, that's a separate device, but the tune or the remap, whatever. Tune, tune's not really the right word, is it? It was already tuned before, so you're retuning it, I suppose. Remap's probably the best word, really. But look, this is the deal, okay? I've said it before. The engine, it's a 4-cylinder or 5-cylinder, it's a small diesel engine. It's in a big truck, we sort of covered that. It's already making a lot of power. If you go and have a look at the numbers, the kilowatts of power and the torque they're putting out, compared to what bigger engines were not that long ago. If you compare it to the Falcon or Combo you had, the ones without the turbo, you find they're really up there. They're fairly highly strung for the size of the engine. Remember, it's a diesel, right? It's not a petrol. Traditionally slow, gutless diesels, right? They're good for sort of a bit of torque, sometimes, not all of them. The turbo is what helps a lot too. It's not about it being diesel. The turbo is what gives you a lot of your torque, right? So, now, the problem is they're already highly strung. You go and get a chip or a tune or a remap, and it's going to put a lot more pressure on the engine and whichever is the weakest link in components. And I'd suggest in most of these engines it's the piston. And I'm not saying there's a problem with any of the pistons. Maybe some are worse than others and some are better than others. What you got to understand is more power, more torque equals more force on the piston, right? Bang, force on the piston. I mentioned it before. Where these pistons crack, doesn't matter if it's in a Ford Ranger or a Toyota Prado, where they crack, it's over the gudgeon pin, right? Because just think about the work it's doing. The engine's gone for months, years and years, hundreds of thousands of Ks of cycles of pumping up and down, and by putting more power, more torque, and you might not, but I don't push it, you don't have to push it because it's already pushed. The tuning has pushed it so that you don't have to push it. You're just pushing it lightly, but it's actually pushing it a bit harder than you know. What you mean is you're not revving it. You didn't have to work your accelerator as hard, but it's still doing the same thing. If the car's moving faster, it does it easier. Same thing. And the reason I mention this is we hear of a lot less cracked pistons these days, right? And I believe because a lot of people are avoiding these chips and stuff. When there was a survey years ago, it's still out there. It was particularly on the 1KDs, who's had one, how many Ks, what year is it, and have you got a chip? The number one, the highest contributing factor you could see, there were so many Steinbauer chips. I'm not picking on Steinbauer, but other than that, maybe they were the most popular chip. Maybe that's why, and maybe they probably were, right? So maybe they're the best chip. Maybe they're the most popular. That's why they had the most cracked pistons, right? But when you looked at the numbers, the chips and tunes are a significant factor in cracking pistons, okay? Significant, the HKS and a tune. Not picking on that, it's probably a quality product. But what you bolt the product to and how you tune it, how you use that vehicle. I'm suggesting the engine's already highly strung, and by adding more to it, not the greatest idea, if you know what I mean. So it's up to you. Some people think I hate chips and tunes, like they think I hate catch cans. No, I don't hate anything like that, okay? Each to their own. If you understand all I'll say is understand all the systems. If you understand the systems and you want to have something like that on your vehicle, that's fine. But don't complain. And look, I've got to say, I used to get a lot of calls. Every day I used to have people ringing me with cracked pistons and whatever. This is my survey, okay? This is my statistics. I look and I read at what happens online on forums and groups and Facebook and comments here and there. I always, you'll notice, I always ask, so, does it have a chip, does it have a tune, whatever. And I've noticed I haven't asked that question for a fair while, so we're seeing a lot less of them on, say, our Facebook groups lately, which is good. I don't get the calls. I'm lucky if I get a call once a week now, probably once a month, okay? There was a time about a year ago where out of our whole fleet, all the vehicles we service, change injectors on, whether we've supplied injectors to people, DIYs, trade, nobody cracked a piston, except for the small handful of the ones that had a very small percentage that decided to have a chip or a tune anyway. It was out of those few that had a few cracked pistons. So I don't know if there were 6, maybe there were 3 cracked pistons type thing. Out of hundreds and thousands of people. That's my survey statistics. We've got another one, can't use his cruise control. Anyway, luckily we've got no one behind us, so don't worry about that. Let's just monitor the situation. If they speed up, just pop in behind them. But I'm on cruise control, rest assured, on the speed limit. Yeah, back quarter. I see the vehicle going. Here we go, we're going past them again. Yeah, good. Anyway, see, easily distracted. So that's just the statistics. I just share the facts of what we know, okay? We've seen the 110 pistons with cracked pistons, with chips, okay? We've seen vehicles that have done hundreds of thousands of kilometres with the right maintenance, and, you know, you can't always control what fuel you're going to get, so there's contributing factors you can't control, but they're the smallest percentage of the contributing factors. The biggest contributing factors seem to be chips or churns. So I'm not telling you whether to get one or not. If you've got money, just understand the situation. If you end up having to spend 10, 15, 20 grand on an engine and a turbo because it went kaboom, kabang, then that's cool, as long as you knew about it. That's what this information's for. I'm letting you know it's a higher risk, okay? So, but you don't have to pretend to me you don't have a chip or think that I hate it or whatever. Hey, you can get a chip and a chin, you can bring it in for a service, mate. I'll take it for a good thrashing, no problem at all, you know? That's what it's there for, right? Oh yeah, that's great. I drove a car today with a tune. It goes all right. It goes about the same as all the good, clean, well-maintained Hiluxes that we look after, and it goes a lot better than some of the ones that we've never seen before and probably never see again, you know, because they weren't looked after, right? So you just know they're not that great, or maybe they put those big tyres on and all the gear, and yeah, it does slow it down, right? But my experience with vehicles I've driven that have got these tunes, I haven't seen any rocket ships yet. I'm not impressed by it. I have seen smoke, give it a rev, I see a lot of smoke. I drive the car, I see smoke. I hear rattles and noises, even with injectors that are supposedly replaced as well. So that's my situation, that's my position on it, if you know what I mean. Just trying to be clear as possible. That's our talk on chips and tunes. Don't love them, don't hate them, it's just whatever, right? I certainly wouldn't have a chip or tune on any of my vehicles. It doesn't need it. I prefer it the way it is. I don't need to waste the money on it. I like to keep it reliable. My statistics and experiences tell me that it's much more likely that I'm going to crack a piston if I've got a chip or a tune, okay? But, as I said, I also say I'm sure there's people out there, companies and good people that know exactly what they're doing to make the vehicle better for you. And if you've got money to burn, then perhaps what you need to say is, look, I would like to make it, if you can make it nicer, you know, so it's got some power when I need it, but just make sure you know that even when you're not pushing it, if you can feel seat of your pants it's going, but you're not revving, just be aware that's what's going on, okay? If I had to get a chip of a chip, if I had to get one, right, if I had to get one, I wouldn't probably get a chip. No, I wouldn't get a chip. These plug-on things, I wouldn't bother with it. Chips are outdated. In my opinion, it's an outdated thing now. If you've got people that know how to tune an ECU, if they've got the right software, they've got the right equipment, if they've got a brain between those ears and they know what they're doing and they know what all those adjustments are and know how changing one affects the other. If you do that to that one, you've got to do that there, and they know what they're doing and they've got heaps of experience with it and they're spending the time and they're putting on the dyno, making sure it's right, and there is people like that, then they're the people you've got to go to if you want to go there, right? That's up to you. Doesn't bother me. If you crack a piston and you want a brand new engine that comes with brand new injectors already installed, you can give me a call for that. Yeah, we'll do your engine, no problem, okay? I'd rather do your engine than do your chips and tunes, right? So we can help you with that. Anyway, guys, that is my talk on Remaps, chips and tunes. I don't know what else I can tell you. That's it. It's just what it is. So hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell on, ding, 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 ding. And I'll be looking in the comments to see what you think, what your experiences are, and any other ideas for more videos, what you want to know about. Thanks for watching. See you guys.